Morning, it's me again. I'm down at a farm where there's a steam collection and tractors and track crawlers and basically anything. But I'm going to interview a few of the guys whose their machines they are. Hope you enjoy the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up for me, would you? And if you consider subscribing to the channel, that'd be great. I've got a steam engine behind me. I'm going to put the drone up later and he's going to steam it up and we're going to have a play around with the drone and whatnot, and it'd be great. I'm going to interview him as well, like I said, with a few of the guys, so it'll be at least 3 videos I should imagine, so it'll be 3 parts. I'm not going to try and condense them down in one, but I'm passionate about the countryside, as you know, and all these old traction engines and one thing and another, so enjoy the videos. Look at these. This one's down to have its boiler tested, I believe. Steam tubes. As you can see, I'm standing alongside it, and I'm 5'8", and I can't reach the top of the wheels. And right next door we have a. Now this is an engine that doesn't drive, apparently. This is mainly for tow to the farm to do basically ploughing work. Apparently the chimneys on them, they fold down to make them draw better when they're taller chimneys than the other engines. I don't know a lot about steam engines, but I know a chap who does, and he's going to give me an interview in a bit with it. I don't know where to look next. There's the ploughing winch. It's a bit like going back in time to an old workshop for me. Well, I'm here with Peter, and now he's a part owner on these engines with Richard, and he's going to give me a description of all about them, because I don't know about steam engines, I only know about tractors. So bear with me again, and Peter will tell us all about it. Right, Peter, Okay.
Your name is Peter
Stanier.
Stanier, and have you been into steam engines long?
Yes, a very long time. Sort of getting on for 40 years, I suppose, if not more. And we've had these engines now for quite a long time. They were derelict when we bought them. They were last used in 1936, and they were left derelict until about 1988, I think it was, when we bought both of them from Worcestershire. Yep. And they are ploughing engines, and they work in pairs. And as you can see underneath here, you've got cable drum. You have one engine one end of the field, one the other. Yep. And they winch the implement backwards and forwards across the field, and of course they go forward the width of the implement each time. And the advantage of this system is that the implement doesn't weigh a great deal, so you're not panning the soil down.
Right, of course, you're not compacting the soil at all.
No, you're not. No, I mean, a horse ploughing in the furrow is worse than anything. Really? So these engines were used more for cultivating than ploughing, even though they're called ploughing engines. Yep. And they used to go round and start in March, pretty much, and then a team of 5 with their living van and everything else would go round to farms, and they would cultivate the soil about every 7 years and break the pan up. Yeah. Now that, of course, increased the drainage and did the soil a great deal of good. And of course, the same applied with tractors as well, as they came along in the 20s. Standard Fordsons being really the first commercial tractors in this country from America. And so we've really been doing the same sort of thing since I suppose the 1980s, really, when we restored both these engines. Yeah. And
you and William?
No, Richard.
Richard, sorry.
Richard, Richard. Yeah, Richard and I, we own them jointly, so they can't be split up. So we both own half each, so they always stay together.
Oh, that's in fact, even as we're custodians of these
no, well, engines, that's all we are, really, yes.
I mean, when we pass them, they've got to go together then, aren't they?
That's the idea.
They never get broken up.
That's the idea, yes. I mean, they'll stay in the Pierce family. I've no offspring, so they'll stay with them. And but that's the situation, really.
But you enjoy old ironing, do you?
Oh, yes. I mean, I've got cars and old buses.
Really?
And I've got a very nice 1937 Jensen S-type with a dual cowl Phaeton body, which is quite unusual. Yes, it is.
Fantastic. I'd love to come.
Well, it's nearly all Ford, of course. It's got a Ford V8 side valve. And but it has got a 2-speed Columbia axle, which is quite unusual, air operated.
Okay. So would these have a canopy on them, or would they open to the field?
No, open. I mean, it was a hard life when they were out. As I say, the 5-man crew really consisted of 2 engine drivers, one on the implement. The foreman used to go around getting work for them to go on to, and the cook boy. And the cook boy, they were paid acreage money, so the more work they did, the more money they got paid. So the cook boy, having cooked their breakfast, would then go and spell them one at a time while they went and had their meals. So they kept going all the time.
So where would they do the cooking then?
In the living van.
Oh, they'd have a van?
Yeah, you would have a living van, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a 5-man van.
So there was like a crew going to one farm to the next, would they?
That's right, all the time, yes. From about March till October, really.
Okay, and they'd have an owner, someone like yourself, who sort of contracts work to them?
Well, I think the foreman used to get the work, but yes, I imagine that they'd got a pretty good idea where they were going before they set out in March as to the area, and I mean, a lot of preparation must have been done first. Yeah. But even so, they still had to have the coal and water brought to them, because after all, they get through a hell of a lot of water. And
yes, of course, you don't think about that in the middle of a field.
Well, that's right. That would only be done with a horse and cart, with a water bowser. Yeah. And but these engines are very early. They're 1876 and 1877 when they were built, and they're single cylinder. If you look up there, they have only got the one cylinder. Yeah. And
So that makes them sound extremely nice because you get a strong bark up the chimney. And but they do use a lot of water and a lot of coal. And the later engines were twin-cylinder compound. So that means that the steam is used twice.
Twice, yes.
And,
so you'd have a low pressure cylinder and a high pressure
that's
cylinder?
correct, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what state of repair are these in now at the moment? I know the one next door to you has got a test on it, is it?
That's right, it's got a hydraulic test. Once every 10 years, the engines have to be built up with water and then pumped up to 1.5 times working pressure to check, and then they're checked by the boiler inspector and to make sure that everything is safe to use. Okay. But every 14 months they have to have a cold test where he goes around with a hammer checking that everything is sound, threads and this sort of thing, tubes, and then they have a steam test to make sure that the safety valve lifts at the correct pressure.
Okay.
And so
I see the two balls above there. It's the governor, obviously, to try.
Yeah, well, they were used. Of course, don't forget that during the winter period, they wouldn't be ploughing, but they then be used on the flywheel on the belt with thrashing or wood sawing or anything like that. And then they would need the governors to obviously maintain,
regulate the speed of the traction engine.
That's right.
Now this winch you was telling me about here.
Yes.
Now I've noticed there's the gearing coming down.
That's right.
2 crank wheels, is it?
Bevel gears.
Bevel gears.
Yes.
And it comes. I see on one outside it's been restored, but that shaft comes straight down.
Yes.
And onto the
drum.
Onto the drum.
Yeah,
now,
you've got a brake here. So when the other engine is pulling the cable out and they're going back, this acts here as a brake.
Oh, okay.
So otherwise the drum would just run on.
Oh, it locks into a...
Yeah, it locks into a pull there.
Yeah.
And so then that controls the drum. And but then of course when it's pulling in, that just bounces on the drum there.
Yeah, and this implement, what I've got beside me, that just...
Well, that's just a guide for the cable.
Right.
There's about 500 yards of cable on each of these engines.
Really?
Yes. Which is about the length of a field that you would use, really.
Yeah.
And,
so, when we talk about ploughing, how many acres would you say in a day one of these pair would do, would you say?
Well, depending on ground conditions and one thing and another, but 10, I suppose, something like
10
that.
acres, that's a fair bit of ploughing.
Yes, it is.
A horse couldn't do that, could it?
No,
really?
1 acre. 1 acre.
What, a horse?
Yeah.
So how many furrows on the plough would there be?
Well, again, depends on the soil, about 4 probably. I mean, we normally use 4 furrow plough, but we have used it on, we've got a 5 furrow plough as well. Okay. And I'll
have to have a look at that, and perhaps you could tell me a little bit about the plough in a minute.
Yes, I can.
That's fantastic.
Well, do you want to go around there now? Have you done it? Yeah. All right.
I mean, you told me about the age and how you restored them all and pressure. I think we've covered the engine itself. I see you've got a 12-ton sticker on it. Is that what they...
No, maybe more than 12 tons. But that would probably be done for the registration.
Or
and
the grand pressure or something.
No. That's to do with the council.
Ah, okay.
And because you've got the registered here by Worcestershire.
Yeah. I noticed this one ain't got any covers on it.
No, because it's been ready for inspection.
Oh, okay. That's why it's got covers on
that's right. Yeah, well, that's obviously to keep the heat in.
Yeah.
And so yes, it's obviously going to be visible. So, but that was new in 89, 90.
Okay. I'm going to try and sneak round the back of it now, without falling over.
Right.
So this is the tender on the back.
Yes.
Where all the water and the coal store.
That's right. Yeah.
If I can get you in. Yeah. So you'd be standing up there then, would you, Peter?
Yes.
And driving the engine and. Would you communicate to the other driver by a whistle or something like that? Would you?
Well, normally when you're working, obviously they used to work on a system that when the plough stopped, give him a few minutes to turn the plough over, and then you'd start pulling back. So you wouldn't need any.
You wouldn't need a whistle.
No, the only whistle you would do to stop, and that would be one blast on the whistle to stop.
Oh, okay.
But of course we're doing it for demonstration purposes now.
Yeah, nowadays,
and, so we do it a lot slower, and we do work with whistles or hand signals. If we could see the other engine.
Yeah, and so this is this is where you put the water in.
Yes, you put the water in there, and then you've got to have two methods of getting water into the boiler. On these, you've got a pump and an injector.
Yeah.
And so the injector obviously takes steam from the boiler, picks water up down here out of the tender, and then going through cones in the injector, which increases the pressure, pushes it back into the boiler again. But so yes, by law, all steam engines should have two methods of getting water into the boiler, because obviously it's essential that you keep the crown of the firebox covered. Otherwise the heat of the fire would destroy the structure of the crown of the firebox, and then you're in for an explosion. And there's a fusible plug in the top of the firebox with a plug with a hole drilled through it filled with lead. And all the time water is covering that lead, it won't melt. But if the water goes, then the lead will melt, and steam and any residue of water will then go down onto the fire and hopefully put the fire out.
Okay. All these gears on the side of the engine, these are for the driving of the engine to the field?
That's right. This is obviously for forward motion. You've got two gears, and the spur gear up here slides backwards and forwards, putting it in and out of gear. But because they're so old, you have to take all that off to go into high gear, and then another gear goes on there and drives this gear here, which goes on down to the back wheel.
So what sort of speed are we looking at?
With these, of course, you don't want to do more than about 5 or 6 miles an hour, because they weren't designed. Don't forget that when they were built in 1876 and 7, there were no roads really. No. There were water-based roads, and no cars or anything. And of course, they were really designed to go on that sort of surface. Now you put these on tarmac, and they're not very comfortable.
Now I see you've not actually put any rubber on your wheels, have you?
Oh no.
Do you put? Is that to keep them original or to?
No, because when you're in the field, you don't want rubber on there, because you've got the spuds down there, and you can't put them on if you've got rubber on.
Spuds? Now tell me what's
they bolt onto the wheel. And then
give you traction.
Exactly.
So, I see. So let me pan down to this. Now these are all bolt-on spuds, and you're carrying them along now.
Yeah.
As soon as you get it off your lorry or something, then you.
Well, no. I mean, you only need to use them if you can't manoeuvre, because under normal conditions, I mean, in an ordinary dry day like today, I mean, you just drive around the field with no problem at all. It's if it gets a bit sticky.
Like this winter was just gone.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on to the plan now, Peter.
Well, there's Richard. Do you want to him doing a thing for you? Something called YouTube. Not knowing what YouTube is.
Hello, Rich. Sorry, let me turn this off. Right, I'm with Peter, obviously, and I'm going to move round to Richard, another co-owner of these steam engines, and this is farm. This fantastic collection of vehicles are on. Peter's been telling me a little bit, Richard, about your collection and about you bought these two traction engines, ploughing engines together, and you're passionate about steam.
Well, they're about passionate. We enjoy it. I think passionate is a bit strong.
Well, I'm passionate about the countryside.
Well,
what this is what worries me about the countryside. We're building houses, we're building road links, and a lot of fields are being ploughed up. And you can't blame farmers to make a few pounds here and there, but for me to pass on this for future generations, it's fantastic. That's why I enjoy doing it. You know, it's people like yourself. Without you guys, this would be still in a hedgerow, wouldn't it? Really?
Well,
it could be. We pulled them out of the hedgerow.
Exactly. You know, and I think I'm proud of you guys. What you're doing. Anyway, on that note, if we can go and look at your plan that you use on these engines and have a chat to you about that, would that be possible?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's thank you.